Hello and welcome everybody. In this overview I will compare the three medium class fighters in Everspace 2 to each other. The goal of this video is to give you an idea how they play and perform in comparison to each other, in order to help you making an educated decision which class you might enjoy playing the most. First, I give you a quick overview over each class in a less technical way and more focused on how they feel to play and how they perform in certain situations, where they shine and where not. Secondly, I will compare their unique features to each other, like class ability, ultimate and passive perks. How do these perform directly compared to each other? This will include a nice wrap-up and which mindset and playstyle fits best for piloting each class. Before we head into the specific chapters, a word on the medium class fighters in general. It comes to no surprise that these fighters try to find a good balance between the slow but usually much more resistant heavy fighters and the very nimble but somewhat squishy light classes. Coming from playing mostly heavy class ships, the medium fighters feel very responsive and much more agile in comparison. This ship class provides a nice best of both worlds mix and are immensely versatile ships when it comes to build variety. At least two of the three classes, but more on that later. Number 1, the Sentinel. Kicking this list off is the Sentinel class, also your starter ship after the tutorial section of the game. If you want to categorize it compared to classic RPG classes, this would maybe be your Paladin without the heavy armor. The class provides improved damage resistances, some damage buffs and passive abilities that evolve around shorter device cooldowns. That in combination with its 4 slots for consumables makes for a very utilitarian vessel. It's the perfect class for people who want to make the most out of skills and use them on cooldown for maximum effect. It may be not the perfect class for pilots who like to focus on a more straightforward playstyle and don't like to micromanage skills and cooldowns. As a shield tank with one of the larger shield bonus values in the game, a passive that can increase your total shield capacity by another 15% and the expertise stat improving the damage resistance of your shield, you can build a pretty resistant Sentinel. On the flip side, your armor capacity is very low, so once your shield goes down, you will not be able to take a lot of damage. This makes the Defensive Massacre level 5 player perk a perfect choice. I recommend combining this with the consumable Energy Shield or Cloaking device to prevent interrupts on your shield recharge process, or the Teleport device to temporarily hop out of the danger zone. The Boost device works too, but the Teleporter has more charges and a shorter cooldown. Other perks that utilize device cooldowns are usually a good choice depending on your loadout/build. Speaking of builds, the Sentinel is one of those classes that are a perfect blank template for a huge variety of builds. Close, mid or long range setups, leaning more into warfare or more into support devices, and having a wide range of consumables for every situation at your disposal. So really, your imagination is the limit of how you can use this class best. A jack of all trades, where it is up to you on which aspects you want to capitalize. The damage buff is a little more inconsistent than those of other classes because it is tied to your shield charge percentage. The ultimate ability is top tier and I guess we all know what inspired it. But seriously, Static Overload is fantastic, deals tons of damage and can easily level the battlefield for you. The available passives for this class are also all very useful and varied. Other classes often have very passives, but here all are at least decent. The 15% increased shield capacity is a must-have in my opinion. Number 2, the Interceptor. Heading on to the Interceptor. Now if the Sentinel is a little like a Paladin, the Interceptor is your weapon-loving warrior that is packed to the brim with weapons and would bring even more if he could fit them. The class does not provide any additional damage resistances, but several damage buffs in form of direct buffs and enhanced energy efficiency, so you can use more powerful and very power-hungry weapons easier. The Interceptor offers no additional advantages for devices and has 3 consumable slots. Everything the Interceptor offers in terms of passives and the ultimate evolve around weapons and weapon usage, so it is perfect for pilots who look for a more straightforward playstyle without leaning too much into micromanaging devices and consumables, aka skills. With 3 primary and secondary weapon slots, it even beats the gunship in that department. The expertise stat further reduces energy consumption of your weapons. The class has a decent shield for its size and the highest armor bonus of all medium fighters, creating the opportunity to build more around an armor tank and utilizing the low time to kill to refresh armor fast. But don't expect to have an absurdly big armor buffer like the gunship. In general, you could think of the Interceptor as a pocket-sized gunship with much better mobility and less armor. On the negative side of things, I would mention the class ability to drain booster energy once your weapon energy is depleted. I really don't see the benefit of that, and becoming a sitting duck in the heat of the battle by running out of booster energy is a bad thing. The passives can already improve your weapon's energy consumption, and with 3 mounted weapons, it is better to swap simply to the next weapon instead of accidentally draining your booster energy by overlooking the display for it, which can happen fast in a dense combat scenario. It may be useful in some situations, but overall I feel that this is one of the weakest class abilities in general. The passives, on the other hand, are all very useful, with a 10% increased weapon damage and a 30% refunded energy on hit as the must-haves for this class. The ultimate is also top tier and lets you use your hardest hitting weapon with no energy consumption and huge damage bonuses. The ultimate is prolonged with every kill, and one passive refunds 20% of the ultimate energy after use, and another enhances ultimate energy build-up. So you want to pop this as often as you can, turning you into berserker mode. The damage buffs are also very consistent and apply to any playstyle. You can build this class any way you want. Any range and weapon setup works. This is also a I can be anything you want class, with a wide array of possibilities to mix up the benefits from perks, devices and so on. Number 3, the Striker. Lastly, we have the Striker class. In opposite to its brothers, it is a highly specialized class. Think of it as a brawler for close-up fights in leather armor. This class has no additional damage resistances and only one passive that improves survivability, but that is tied to using your ultimate. The Striker offers several damage improvements in form of direct damage buffs and indirect buffs by slowing targets for easier hits or preventing enemy shields from recharging. There are no additional benefits for devices and you can equip 3 consumables. With 3 primary and 2 secondary weapon slots, the class is on par with the gunship. Now what makes the Striker very special and somewhat niche is that all the nice stuff is bound to be very close to your enemies, within 500 meters. So this is the in-your-face, balls-to-the-walls playstyle class that needs you to be very comfortable staying in the center of attention, staring into your enemy's eyes, which can lead to a very hectic, adrenaline-filled playstyle, constantly struggling to keep an overview of your enemies, cooldowns and health while blinded by explosions around you. You also don't get any increased armor or shields for this task. The Striker has the same shield bonus as the Interceptor, but less armor, although at least more than the Sentinel. So be prepared to board a high-risk, high-reward fighter that is more reliant on evasion. When all bonuses fall into place, you can kill a lot of enemies very fast. The Striker is tied to one playstyle and not very versatile. You want to go with blaster, autocannon, beam laser or scattergun. Anything that improves mobility for quick in and outs like the teleporter device are great. It's maybe the best class to incorporate the Annihilator virus device with its short range and utilize the 50% damage reduction mastery perk. I would think you will spam EMP and virus on cooldown in order to control the battlefield from its center. Quick reflexes and keeping track of your device's cooldowns are basic skills you should bring as a pilot here. The passives of this class are not bad, but some are very situational, with a 20% slow effect on locked targets maybe being the best. Overall, the biggest problem of this class, if you want to call it a problem, is that once enemies are out of range, you lose a lot of damage. The same applies to the ultimate ability. Strong, but only useful if enough ships are in range. Other classes have a fire and forget ultimate that works in every situation. Both of its brothers have a strong ultimate that requires active targeting, but are far less range restricted, if at all. So a lot of features on this class are inconsistent and situational and force you to manage to get exactly into these situations. Otherwise you benefit from nothing at all, apart maybe from the increased boost speed from your expertise stat. Don't get me wrong, this can be a very strong fighter, but you have to embrace and like the demanded playstyle. Number 4, comparison. Now, how do these three classes compare to each other? In terms of mobility and speed, I would say that the differences are not that huge, with the exception that the Striker is noticeably nimbler than the other two medium class fighters. Striker and Sentinel are a little faster than the Interceptor. The Striker offers the best handling, followed by the Interceptor, and the Sentinel being a bit more stiff. The Striker has overall the lowest damage buffer if you combine shield, armor and hull. Both other classes can be made somewhat tanky, with the Interceptor relying on fast kill speed to refresh armor, and the Sentinel can capitalize on its huge shield and improve the shield's damage resistance on top. In combination with the most hull points, this turns the Sentinel into the tankiest of the three, with the Striker being the most squishy one. Striker pilots utilize the higher mobility to avoid damage. The ultimates for the Interceptor and Sentinel are on par, always useful and very strong. The Striker falls behind because of the more situational nature of its ability. The Interceptor has the weakest class ability in my opinion, while Sentinel and Striker are fine here and well tied to their specific strengths. Sentinel and Interceptor passives fit both well their respective class idea and are in general all useful. The Striker again is a lot weaker in this department, because passives like drone catching and throwing around or more boost speed while under missile lock are rather situational. For what playstyles and roles can these fighters be used? Interceptor and Sentinel can really be anything you would like them to be, with the Sentinel offering more to the buff and skill enjoyer and the Interceptor more for the straightforward weapon user. But each class has enough weapon slots and devices to build into both aspects. The passives of these classes are what incentivizes pilots to make more use of one or the other. The Striker is the special child of this family, looking like a Star Wars X-Wing. I personally like the visual appearance the most, but you either click with the up-close playstyle or not. It is not your multiple role ship. What it can do great, but it's a one-trick pony. Overall is the medium fighter class a well-balanced mix that offers you two classes that you can really build any way you like, and one highly specialized expert. So there's something for everyone in this one ship class alone. I hope you enjoyed the class breakdown and thank you very much for watching. You can support the channel with the usual clicks or the super thanks feature if you are looking for a more direct way. What else would you like to see covered? Let me know in the comments. For now, this is all about Everspace 2. Take good care of yourself and fly safe.